Ever wonder if what you're seeing on the surface is just an elaborate magic trick designed to hide the real story? Welcome to the most twisted tale in hockey's rumor mill, where nothing is quite what it seems and everyone's playing a game within a game. Today, we're peeling back the layers of one of the most convoluted stories circulating through NHL circles. A story that involves star players, desperate franchises, and enough misdirection to make a Vegas magician jealous. Get ready for a wild ride through the labyrinth of modern hockey politics, where the moves you think you understand are actually just the setup for something far more explosive. Trust me, by the time we're done here, you'll never look at trade rumors the same way again. The Vancouver Vanishing Act. When captains become expendable, let's start with the most mind-bending part of this whole saga. The idea that Vancouver might be orchestrating one of the most audacious bait-and-switch operations in recent memory. On the surface, we're hearing whispers about Quinn Hughes being open to continuing his career under other skies. But here's where it gets absolutely fascinating. What if that's exactly what Vancouver wants you to think? The Canucks have suddenly developed an intense interest in Bowen Byram, the Buffalo Sabres' promising young defenseman. Now, conventional wisdom suggests they're looking at Byram as Hughes' replacement, preparing for their captain's potential departure. But what if the entire Hughes storyline is just elaborate theater designed to mask their real intentions? Think about it strategically. If Vancouver is genuinely interested in acquiring Byram, the worst thing they could do is appear desperate. Teams that look like they're shopping for necessities get gouged at the negotiating table. But teams that seem to be exploring luxury options, they maintain leverage. By allowing speculation about Hughes' future to circulate, Vancouver creates the perfect cover story. They're not desperately seeking defensive help, they're just being prudent, exploring their options in case their captain decides to leave. It's brilliant misdirection that could save them millions in trade negotiations. The Buffalo Gold Mine. Why Byram is hockey's hidden treasure. Here's what makes this situation absolutely electric. Bowen Byram might be the most undervalued asset in the entire NHL right now. Stuck in Buffalo's defensive logjam, this kid has been quietly developing into exactly the type of player that championship teams kill for. Byram brings that rare combination of skating ability, offensive instincts, and hockey IQ that defines elite defensemen in today's game. He's got the wheels to join the rush, the vision to quarterback a power play, and the defensive awareness to shut down opposing attacks. In the right system, with the right teammates, he could explode into a genuine star. But here's the kicker. Buffalo might not even realize what they have. The Sabres have been so focused on their forward depth and goaltending issues that Byram has been flying under the radar. He's the perfect example of a player whose value could skyrocket the moment he changes jerseys. Vancouver recognizes this opportunity, and they're willing to play the long game to capitalize on it. The question isn't whether Byram has the talent, it's whether the Canucks are smart enough to acquire him before the rest of the league catches on. The Marchand circus, when legends chase their last dance. Meanwhile, in a completely different corner of the hockey universe, Brad Marchand is about to become the center of the most intense bidding war we've seen in years. Fresh off a playoff performance that nearly earned him the Conn Smythe Trophy, Marchand is positioning himself as the ultimate rental player for Stanley Cup contenders. According to TSN's Darren Dreger, practically every team with championship aspirations is circling like sharks. The Jets, Leafs, Panthers, Golden Knights, Kings, Avalanche, Capitals, and Oilers are all reportedly interested. That's not just a market, that's a feeding frenzy waiting to happen. Marchand's camp is reportedly seeking $8.5 million per season, which sounds astronomical until you consider what he brings to the table. This is a player who can single-handedly change the dynamics of a playoff series. He's the guy who gets under opponents' skin while putting up elite numbers. For a team on the cusp of a championship, that kind of impact is priceless. But here's the fascinating psychological element. Marchand knows this is likely his last chance at a big payday and another Stanley Cup. That creates a unique dynamic where he has all the leverage in the world, but also tremendous pressure to choose wisely. One wrong decision, and his legacy could be defined by what might have been. Toronto's master plan. The rebuild that doesn't look like a rebuild, and then there's Toronto, quietly orchestrating what might be the most sophisticated roster overhaul in recent memory. While everyone's focused on the Mitch Marner drama, the Maple Leafs are apparently more interested in exploring the trade market than free agency, and that tells us everything we need to know about their real strategy. David Pagnotta's revelation that Toronto is prioritizing trades over free agent signings is absolutely crucial. It suggests the Leafs have learned from their past mistakes of overpaying for mediocre talent on July 1st. Instead, they're looking to acquire players with term, players who fit their system, players who can contribute immediately without breaking the bank. This approach also suggests they're not just replacing Marner, they're completely reimagining their roster construction. The Leafs might be preparing to trade multiple players, not just their star winger. John Tavares, despite expectations that he'll stay, could be part of a larger shakeup designed to create both cap space and roster flexibility. The question isn't what Toronto will do with Marner's departure, it's how many other moves they're planning in conjunction with it. This could be the kind of comprehensive retooling that transforms a franchise overnight. The domino effect. How everything connects here is where the story gets absolutely mind-blowing. All these seemingly separate situations are actually interconnected in ways that could reshape the entire NHL landscape. Vancouver's pursuit of Byram could be influenced by whether they can move Hughes. Marchand's destination could determine which teams are still in the market for other high-profile players. Toronto's trade strategy could flood the market with talent, changing everyone's calculations. Imagine this scenario. Toronto trades Marner and Tavares, creating a market flood that depresses values across the board. Vancouver capitalizes by acquiring both Byram and another key piece at below-market prices. Meanwhile, Marchand signs with a team that just became a legitimate contender thanks to Toronto's fire sale. It's a cascading series of events where each decision influences the next, creating opportunities for smart teams and disasters for those who react too slowly. The teams that can see these connections coming will thrive. The ones that react to each move in isolation will get left behind. The psychology of misdirection. Reading between the lines, what makes this entire situation so fascinating is how much of it relies on psychological warfare and strategic misdirection. Teams are floating stories, agents are planting rumors, and everyone's trying to gain negotiating leverage through careful media manipulation. Vancouver's Hughes situation might be completely manufactured to provide cover for their Byram pursuit. Marchand's camp might be inflating his asking price to create urgency among potential suitors. Toronto might be downplaying their interest in free agents to avoid getting into bidding wars they can't win. The real story isn't what these teams are saying, it's what they're not saying. The moves they're preparing for aren't the ones making headlines. The players they really want aren't the ones being discussed in the media. The summer that changes everything, we're on the verge of a summer that could fundamentally alter the NHL's competitive balance. The combination of salary cap pressures, expiring contracts, and ambitious front offices has created a perfect storm of opportunity and chaos. Some teams will emerge from this period as legitimate Stanley Cup contenders. Others will find themselves rebuilding after making desperate, short-sighted decisions. The difference will come down to which organizations can see the big picture while everyone else gets caught up in the day-to-day drama. Vancouver, Toronto, Buffalo, Boston, and a dozen other franchises are all preparing to make moves that will define their next decade. The players involved, Hughes, Byram, Marchand, Marner, Tavares, are just the pieces on the board. The real game is being played by the general managers who understand that everything is connected. This isn't just another NHL offseason. This is hockey's equivalent of a seismic shift where the landscape we know today might be completely unrecognizable by October. And the most beautiful part? Most of the real action is happening behind closed doors, away from the cameras and microphones. The question isn't whether these rumors are true, it's whether you can spot the real story hiding beneath the surface. Because in hockey's great game of misdirection, the teams that see what's really happening are the ones that win championships. So, here's what I want to know. Which of these storylines do you think is the real deal, and which ones are just smoke screens? Drop your theories in the comments. I have a feeling some of you are going to nail exactly what's really happening here, and I can't wait to see your detective work in action.